right. Welcome to Real Estate Hustlers Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Appleman, founder and CEO of Appleman Properties. We're joined today with Jennings Smith. Jennings has built an impressive $60 million portfolio, boasting over 1,500 rental units with a monthly rental collection of $800,000 as a co-creator of The Deal Room and host of Unlock Your Life podcast. Jennings, thanks for coming on today. If you could, let everyone else know a little bit more about yourself.
Hey, Josh, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm married, father of four. I live down in South Carolina, and I started out as a contractor, swinging the hammer. I went to school and was building spec homes with my dad in the summertime. And when I got out, I started to, continue with that. And the recession really kicked me in the teeth back in 2008, 9, 10. And I realized, wow, I'm in a cyclical environment, right? And if realtors out there listening, they know what I'm talking about. Contractors for sure, salespeople. It's like when the economy is good, it's good, but when it's not, you really got to hang on. And so, I went through some pretty tough times. Almost went bankrupt. Owed the IRS 15 grand, owed 15, 20 grand to Home Depot on my credit card. I was paying rent and I was trying to renovate a house that I was supposed to live in. My company was losing $50,000. I had employees and it was rough. And so I realized I'm going to get a rental property. I don't have the ability to get it now, but I'm going to get that because I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to have options and I'm going to have resources. And so, I started to buy trailers. I started with a $5,000 double wide, and it had no air conditioning, no flooring, needed everything. So I bought it from a mobile home park, and my roommate actually in college, his dad owned a trailer park. And I said, how do you get started? Like, I don't have very much money. How do you get started? And he said, look, you just go to these trailer parks, ask them if they got any beat up homes that they don't really want, buy them from them cheap, and just pay them lot rent. That's all they want, is they just want their $200, $300 a month lot rent. But then you can fix them up and rent them out, or you can fix them up and sell them owner finance. He's like, I'd recommend you sell them owner finance because then you don't have to deal with all the repairs and maintenance. And so I did that. I found owner financed. The guy put a couple grand down, moved in, and immediately quit paying me. He was a student. He didn't even have a job. Like I didn't know how to vet tenants. I was just like 20-something-year-old kid doing this. And the dogs completely destroyed the property. Finally, I got him out and I almost gave up. I was almost like, this doesn't work. But I fixed the property up again and I sold it. I just sold it straight up. I didn't want to mess with that. But I did find another trailer that had a tenant in it, and I rented that. I bought it for $7 grand and I rented it for $700 a month. And so you talk about a 1% rule. I was getting the 10% rule on that one. But I had to pay lot rent out of that, but still, it was a good deal. And so slowly acquired that until I had 5 or 6 trailers and 2 rental homes, and recognized almost all my net worth is right here in real estate. Like my construction company is keeping the lights on, but I'm not getting ahead. And so why don't I just do this? Why don't I do this and buy as much real estate as I can? But I didn't have the cash, and I also didn't have the scalable model. Because when I talked to people that knew what they were doing, that actually had large portfolios, they said, dude, single family, it's fine if you want to have 5 or 10 units, maybe 20 units. But if you're trying to really get hundreds of units or thousands of units, you need to go commercial. You need to do something different.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. I had, that's humble beginnings too. You were in the middle of a lot of things happening in 08, 09 and still plowed forward. What do you think holds people back right now from getting into real estate?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I talk to a lot of people, and we specifically work with people that already have some rental property, right? They've already got a couple rental homes, they've got a few deals, and they want to grow and they want to scale, because there is an X factor that you can't teach, right? You, Josh Appleman, somehow you've worked to go out and kill it, right? You're going to go out there, find the opportunity, and you're going to talk to the broker. You're going to figure it out with the bank. You're going to talk the investors into aligning with your vision, and you're going to take the risk. And then when you buy something, you're going to make that deal work. No matter what, you're going to make it work. Well, not everyone's built like that. So I focus on the people that are built like that, right? Those are my tribe. Those are people that I want to connect with, because I know that I can just take them and click them over a couple degrees and they can win in multifamily, which I feel is a much better asset class than single family. And so if you're talking to somebody that has single family, I think that the biggest thing that holds them back is probably fear of the unknown. They're like, the numbers are bigger, the math seems more complicated, the down payments are larger, the loans are larger, the risk is perceived to be higher because, it's a $30,000 a month mortgage payment instead of a $2,000 a month mortgage payment. It's $1 million down payment instead of a $30,000 down payment. So I think that there's a hurdle there. And I think that's good. I think God puts that in us to like fear, right? Self-preservation. Don't screw it up. Yeah. And that's good. But there comes a point where, okay, I'm going to stay here paralyzed by fear, or I'm going to figure out, how do I mitigate this fear? What would make me feel such a way that I could take action, right? If I knew everything there was to know about this market, would I feel better? Yeah. If I knew that the market rents were $1,050 for a 2-bedroom and they're only getting $600, $700, would I feel better about buying that? If I knew how to get the loan, or if I had someone on my team that could qualify for that loan, if I had the $1 million for the down payment, then would I proceed if I knew this was a safe deal? Because the math is really no different than single family. It's like, does it cover the payment, the taxes, insurance, mortgage, maintenance, all that? Does it cover that? Yeah. Is there a value add? Yeah. Okay. It in a nutshell, that's the same thing. And so I think that people get overwhelmed, they get comfortable, right? And I'm the same way. It's like, hey, I know this asset class, so I'm going to stick with that. And I think that that's okay, as long as it's a good vehicle to get you where you want to go. But if you look up and you do the math, dude, if you want $100 million portfolio, you want to collect $50,000, $100,000 a month in passive income, do the math on that with single family homes. I challenge you to do the math of that and see what that looks like. And you'll realize that that's not the course to take.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, we've got an operational company too for renovations. We still do renovate single family houses, but the models are totally different. I've got a transactional side and then the multifamily side. Multifamily is, that's long-term vision, but you've got to get there, especially you're a business owner. You come from being an entrepreneur and constantly grinding it out and getting to the next phase and hustle on. Where do you see an opportunity to generate passive income for someone who might not want to deal with the business owner side?
You mean as far as like operating the real estate?
Like somebody that really wants to be involved with real estate, but they don't necessarily, there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of risk on the operational side by not knowing what you don't know if you're coming in as newbie and just buying and even flipping a house. But if somebody wants to partake in Jennings operation, where would be an opportunity that they fit in as well?
So I always encourage people to invest in what you know, right? Invest in yourself. And if you don't know about real estate, then it's worth the investment to learn about it. It's worth the investment of time, effort, and you're going to make better decisions. You're going to invest in better deals with better people. And so, yeah, if someone's coming to me that they want to get involved, I mean, one way that's simple and easy that pretty much most people let you get involved with is, hey, be an investor, right? Be an investor in a deal. You focus on what you're good at. You're a lawyer, doctor, sales guy, whatever you're doing. Put $100,000, $200,000 into the real estate on a passive side. You don't have to take on any debt, and you pick up the benefit of us, improving the property. But there's also risk if you don't know what they're doing, and you don't know if the operator is good or if the deal is even good. Then there's definitely some risk. So even if you're just going to be an LP, limited partner, passive investor, I would definitely encourage you to learn the fundamentals, learn the basics of this stuff. And if you want to move that way to like, I want to own my own portfolio, I want to buy my own stuff, or be a significant partner, a general partner, you got to put the work into how do I analyze and underwrite deals? Can I see value? Right? Because if you can see value, right, it's like money goggles, right? Putting those lenses on where you can see the diamond laying on the ground. We were talking about this 40 unit before you that you just closed before we jumped on the call, and it's like the only reason that you saw that it was because you were trained, right? You knew, okay, it's in a good area, it's under market rent, it's managed poorly. I know how I can make this thing worth double, right? Or I can raise rents $300. Like how can you find those deals? Because $1 million opportunities pass us by every day. There's tons of opportunities that pass me by and I don't know how to identify them. And that's okay. We can't be experts at everything, but if you want to be good at this, get good so that you can see those opportunities, so that you can go to somebody like Josh, say, hey, dude, I found something. I know you like Dayton. It's a 20 unit. The person, their parents just died. They inherited this. They don't want it. It's run down. You want to look at this with me? Boom. All of a sudden you got Josh's attention, right? Because you know a little bit about what you're doing and you've brought him opportunity. And so that's how I would say people get opportunity. I mean, they join in the deal room, they get that base level of knowledge, opportunity, understanding, and they connect with 40 other people like me that are all doing deals, and then there's another few hundred of people that are all raising capital and building their own portfolios. And it's just like, that's where a lot of opportunity lives, because these deals are usually multiple people getting in them together to make the dream work.
Yeah. And I think that's the most fun part is that you have a group to celebrate with you close a property and everyone's celebrating. You get to bring people in and get more people involved. And you can learn a lot just by sitting in the right room. Jennings, you've got a huge portfolio. What are some key strategies that have helped you build the portfolio and in such a short amount of time?
I would say in the beginning, definitely an intense focus, right? Almost an obsession. And I see this with people in the deal room where I can pick out people that they're obsessed, right? They're constantly talking about brokers, they're talking to investors, they're looking for opportunity, they're networking, connecting. And yeah, for me, it was the network. When I plugged into the right network, those guys gave me confidence to be like, hey, I can do this, right? And I've got a guy on my team that kind of knows what he's doing and he'll help me prevent big mistakes. Because when you're starting, at least for me, that was what held me back the most, was like, I don't want to make a huge mistake. And I think that's valid. And so if you're there, finding those mentors, plugging into that group, finding your tribe to say, yeah, this is a good deal. You should go for this. Let's raise money on this. Like, I'll help you get the loan. Let's move forward. That is invaluable. And that's where I went from buying one-off, two-off rental properties to closing hundreds of units a year, for multiple years in a row, and staying disciplined to, I'm only going to buy good deals, right? Everybody thinks that their deal is good, but we know deep down, hey, these are the metrics that we should be sticking with. This is the stuff that's worked, and listening to people that have been there before, right? And understanding, like, wow, I didn't get involved in a whole lot of Class D stuff because I just heard there's a lot of horror stories around that. Like just properties that are so bad and distressed that every time, you turn around, somebody's breaking into it. And I'm grateful because I did end up, trying my hand at one small, just D class property. And it's been a bit of a headache, like it's been really hard to get on top of it, get the right tenant base in there and get it working. And I'm glad that I didn't buy like half my portfolio in that before I realized, hey, that's an issue. So that's something. And then, just being intentional about the rules you're going to follow. Like, I'm only going to buy deals that cash flow, right? I'm only going to buy deals that there's a value add or there's a buffer there. I'm only going to buy deals that I can get 5 years or longer debt on. That's something that I would highly encourage everybody right now. If you're thinking about buying on 2-year bridge debt, unless you've been doing this for a long, long time and you have very deep pockets and you know what you're doing, be very careful about the bridge debt right now, because local banks, they will loan on stuff that you think maybe doesn't qualify. They will give you renovation dollars. There are other options besides locking yourself into a 12 or 18 or 24-month loan that we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, 8, 10, 12 months ago, we thought by this summer, for sure, things would be looking up. Well, they aren't. They're not looking up. They're going up, and we haven't seen the pivot yet. And we all think that the pivot's right around the corner, right? Oh, the Fed's going to do this. They're going to drop rates this fall, 2024. We're going to be stepping down another 200 and something basis points. We're all going to be back to normal. Well, maybe not until we go to war with Russia and Ukraine and the dollar loses dominance as the world currency. We don't know what's going to happen. And in real estate, you need time. Real estate's very forgiving if you have time.
No, that's huge what you just said, because there are so many anomalies happening out there in the market, and having that runway of time that just lets things almost correct themselves if you have enough time. You don't want to be forced to sell, because then ultimately it's a fire sale and somebody's going to pick up on that. What we just closed is a 5-year term community bank, fixed with renovation funds and a loan. So it's exactly what you just said. You just want to make sure that the deal aligns with the strategy, the game plan, but also with any outside things that might be happening in the world.
And in 2 years, if the rates are down, you can refinance that into a better loan with no prepayment penalty, most likely, and you're going to look really, really smart. And if the rates have gone up, you still have another 3 years to wait it out and see what happens, or raise the values and then sell it. You're not, versus I have an expiring bridge loan like right now. So I gotta either sell at a discount, or I gotta refinance at an unfavorable rate or whatever. Or I've got to give my property back to the bank. Obviously, worst case scenario, but you don't want it. None of those are good options.
No, it's market timing and being positioned. It's or doing a capital call, and then that buys more time, but ultimately it dilutes returns. But that kind of goes into my next question I had for you: is what do you think the scariest thing happening right now in the economy is?
You broke up there a second. What's the scariest thing? What?
The scariest thing happening right now in the economy. What do you feel like that is?
I don't know. I don't want to pretend to know that I'm this expert. I think Jerome Powell does understand the situation as well as anyone can, and I think that he's working with what the politicians are giving him. Right, Republicans and Democrats. I mean, they're all raising money, or printing money and printing dollars and diluting and inflating. And we quickly forget the situation we were in 2020, where it was like 3% of America is going to die. We all have to come home. Our economy grinded to a halt. And so I'm not going to say that what they did was wrong. I think they overdid it a little bit. Seems like they overdid a little bit. But I think that Jerome Powell is fighting to land this plane that was caused by ton of printing money. And he is, as much as I would love to see him throw rates down, I mean, I would love it. We got to take our medicine, right? Because a hyperinflated dollar is the worst thing for everybody, from the lowest paid worker to me. We don't want that. We don't want our communities upended, the world losing faith in the dollar. And we just don't know how far we can push printing, right? I mean, when you're the world reserve currency, you can theoretically keep printing until you're not, because you can infinitely pay off all debts by printing money, and the world's using your currency. It's still worth what everyone's collectively agreeing on. So I think we have to stay the course, right? I think we have to stay the course with slowing the economy down. I think we have to stay the course with raising rates. I think we don't want to go too fast. We are going to slip into a recession, and then they're going to try and lower rates. And typically that doesn't work as good as they think to jumpstart the economy. And so, yeah, I think that we've got pain. I mean, for me, the scariest thing is probably the banking crisis. I mean, the last 5 or 6 banks that have failed are almost the same size in dollars as all the banks that failed in 2008. Right. So I don't understand the situation deep enough, but that's something that is pretty troubling to me.
Yeah. And you just don't know where it's going to all shake out at, because especially from coming from the 08, 09, and then what the rebound looks like, what all it shakes out. But one thing we know for sure is that real estate will stand the test of time. What are some creative strategies that you have implemented and helped some people around you get into real estate with maybe a little money down or no money down in properties?
Yeah, and I want to touch on that again before we move on. Is in real estate is a phenomenal hedge against inflation because the rents go up. Dollars purchasing price or purchasing power is less. However, your debt is fixed, right? Your debt is the same. So it gets easier and easier for you to pay off that debt. And that works to a point until, I mean, a hyperinflationary thing, that's, I don't know how that would work. I would assume that the banks would renegotiate with you on some level, or they would call your loan before it became worthless. I'm not certain how all that would go, but it would not be good for anybody. But as a rule of thumb, controlled inflation is definitely good for real estate. So
totally agree. And you're right. I mean, everything kind of affects everything. Different microeconomics. It's just what buttons to push, and they've got all these levers to utilize, the Fed, and I think they're doing what they feel like they should, and then we'll see where it shakes out. But the creative financing strategies, because I know you've done quite a few, and it's impressive with what you can do in real estate with just creating just deals between yourself and a purchaser. What are some of those?
Yeah, when you're buying real estate, it all boils down to cost of capital, right? Like let's say this 40 unit that you just bought. What'd you
We had the buy price was $2,050,000. There's at 52,000 a door.
Okay. So let's say I come in here and I offer you $5 million for that property. Like let's say let's say you do your value add and I offer you $10 million for this property. Maybe fair market value is $4 or $5 million because you've done your value add. Well, if you jump on that price and then I say, well, yeah, but my terms are I'm going to pay you $10 a year until I pay it off. Right. I'm going to pay you $10 million, but I'm going to pay you $10 million a year until I pay it off. I'm going to write it into my will. My heirs will pay you. As long as we have it, we'll pay you. Well, now I'm getting all the cash flow from the property, right? Essentially for free. I'm getting all the depreciation and tax benefits, and you're getting very, very little. And this is an extreme example to illustrate cost of capital is everything. So the price is not necessarily the biggest risk or the biggest sticking point with these deals. So when you're looking at a seller who's irrational or unreasonable with the price that they want to pay, you can look at, okay, well, how can I lower my cost of capital, right? How can I lower my cost of capital with a bank? How can I lower my cost of capital with seller financing me? Can I lower my cost of capital from my investors? Right now, I don't have to raise money at 8% preferred return. I don't have to give away equity. And so if you start to look at the deal with that, like, how do I lower my cost of capital so that I can pay more, right? I can pay what this seller wants. It starts to open up other deals for you. So there's one way. Most people think of seller financing as like low or no money down. I'm going to buy your property, but I'm not going to put any money down. I'm just going to make payments. Well, most sellers don't love that because everybody wants cash. They've got closing costs and transaction fees, and then they're stuck with the risk. It's in worse shape than when they sold it to you. So another option you can use is where you do a bank loan in first position, and then they're loaning you in not in second position, but as a promissory note to you, a portion or all of the down payment. So on your deal, $2 million deal, you probably needed around $500,000 or $600,000 in down payment money. If the seller will loan you back $300,000, well, all of a sudden at 3%, 4% interest for 5 years or 10 years, all of a sudden you only have to raise $300,000, right? Or you only have to put in $300,000 of your own money if you're doing it that way. And so if you were making 10% on $600,000 at a $2 million price tag, now you're making 20% on $300,000 at this $2 million price tag. You're juicing your returns. It wouldn't be quite double because you got to pay a little interest to the seller, but you're juicing your returns quite a bit. And so now all of a sudden this deal is going to make sense to attract investors too. Now there's a limit, but my kind of rule of thumb is if there's a value add component and the seller can finance the whole down payment where I can walk in, including renovations and everything. If I can walk in with no investor money, no down payment, and I can cover my expenses and I can break even, why would I not do that deal? Because if I can break even and there's a value add, I know I can get the dollars up and I know I can amortize debt. Is this going to be a home run, slam dunk deal that's going to generate 20, 25% IRR to the investors? No, but it doesn't have to be, because all I got to do is just generate a little bit of return to pay the second, the mortgage note to the seller and the bank, and I'm amortizing debt and I'm riding inflation up. And if my property is appreciating in value 2 to 3% a year, and I can hold that for 5 years, 10 years, I can suddenly make, 10 years is 30% on 2 million is $600,000, right? Plus debt amortization for no cost of capital other than just operating the property. And so of course I'm going to do that deal. Why would I not do that deal? What is my cost of capital and how can I lower it? That's going to be a good way to do that. And there's other smaller niche ways where you can like escrow rents. You can force the seller to prepay, like, hey, they're guaranteeing $20,000 a month for the first 6 months in a distressed situation. They got to hold that in escrow and it gets released as the property gets stabilized. That's a way you can do that. You can also structure your closing where you're getting the prorated rents at the beginning of the month. And so that's offsetting your closing costs to lower your cash in the deal. But the point is conserve your own cash, especially in times like these. Try to get the seller to finance you, and you're able to close more deals because you can pay a little bit higher price than your competitor.
That's absolutely huge. And it's just putting the mechanics together within the deal, making it work for everyone, making it make sense. And no, that is huge. It adds a whole nother dynamic to multifamily investing. So on yourself though, how do you balance your time, your energy between your portfolio? You've got your mentorship program, the deal room. How do you balance everything?
So I like to think of it as two separate seesaws. Okay, so you have your work seesaw and then you have your family or your life. And in your work seesaw, I think that you shouldn't necessarily be in balance, right? You should identify what's going to move the needle, right? What's going to move the needle for me? And you need to spend a lot of time out there on that end of the seesaw, way out of balance, right? So this would be, for you, Josh, maybe it's spending time with investors and raising capital or working on acquiring that next deal, right? Now, you still got to keep your portfolio in balance, right? With your asset management and implementing your rent raises and doing all that stuff. And so you need to have somebody, or you need to be spending time doing that, but you need to be as you can before stuff starts to break, right? So for work balance, if you're in balance all the time, you're really never going to get exceptional results. You're just not. You're going to get average results because everything's always perfectly aligned and you're not in growth mode. You can't do that with your family. So there's this lie that we tell ourselves that, babe, it's just for this year. Like, I just really got to focus for a year or 2 years. If I do this, we're going to be set. I know my son and daughter are 8 and 6 years old, but by the time they're 10 or 12, like I'll have this figured out. I'll have the portfolio built. I'll have all, and the lie is because you can't get that back, right? And it's also not like a business where you can, hey, what's broken? Let me get in there and fix it. Okay, now it's fine. Let me implement a new process. Let me hire a new teammate. You can't do that with your kids. Like once those 2 years are gone, that relationship is damaged. It can always be fixed. It can't always be fixed. Sometimes maybe, but you're never going to get that time back. You're never going to get those missed friendships, conversations. Everybody's talking about the baseball games you missed, whatever. But going out of balance, it's like, cool, you achieved what you wanted, but you have got a fat bank account and a house full of strangers who don't know you, and your wife leaves, and your kids don't like you, and all of a sudden everything you're working for doesn't matter anymore. And so this home balance, you can go out of balance a little bit. You will. I got to go to a conference. I got to, I'm trying to close a transaction. I'm really under the pressure cooker for a week here. Okay. But it can't be a month or 6 months or a year. And I see guys and they destroy their lives by chasing this. I'm on extreme mode for a year or two, and that's going to be it. One, because you never get out of it. And two, that's way too long to be going on that track.
Yeah, I think I was talking to an aspiring entrepreneur. It was on Friday, and he's doing 10.5 million in sales right now, and he wants to get to 30. And I asked him, what does 30 look like? And then what changes in your life when you get there? How do you know when you've made it? What is that tangible goal? And you have to know, you have to know what those things, when you hit them, what changes in your life and why are you doing it? Because you're right. When you keep on doing the daily grind, things, you pass up a lot of things and you sacrifice a lot of things, but what does that mean? How does that benefit yourself and your family by doing that? It's on the other front, not being stagnant, creating new problems equals growth. If you're creating new problems, now I've got to hire somebody, now I've got to do this, got to do that. That's a new problem that now you get to fix, put some people in place, or assist in the growth. But if you're stagnant, everything's balanced, then that could equal that could be a downside too. So totally agree with you. Another front, Jennings, you're on a Real Estate Hustlers podcast. What makes you a real estate hustler?
I love it because it is a solid backbone, right? Like it allows me to express myself. Because we're all more than I'm a real estate guy, right? I'm not a real estate guy. I'm a human being with a family, with desires, with goals and passions and things that I want to achieve and experiences I want to have and trips I want to go on and see the world and whatever. And so what real estate does is it gives us a backbone of a real tangible business that everybody wants, right? As you buy and acquire properties, you'll see, you got people coming out of the woodwork to buy your apartment complex, which is basically buying your business. I promise you, in 16 years of running a construction company, no one ever asked to buy my business. Not one, because it's not a desirable thing. And so this is a great business that you can set up to pretty much work without a whole lot of I'm not out there swinging the hammer, renovating the units myself. I'm not property managing it myself. And it gives me a backbone to do things like the deal room, right? To do the coaching, to spend time with my kids, to go on the cruise and go to Florida, go to Disney World and whatever. But it gives you that safety and security net of I can build this on, the asset that's made more millionaires than any other asset in the whole world, right? That AI can't replace, that technology can't replace. Human beings need a place to live and to work and to do to produce things. And so I love it. It's not the sexiest. It's not the fastest. You're not going to get the tech stock growth out of it, but it is a get rich for sure plan that little by little, day by day, you can add to it and it works.
It's phenomenal. If somebody wants to learn more about yourself or be a part of your program, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can just hit me up on social media, Jennings Foster Smith, or you can just go to Jennings Smith JR, JenningsSmithJR.com. All my socials there, my podcast is there. You can talk to me about the deal room if you want to look into that. And it's a great way to connect with us.
Awesome. Awesome. Appreciate your time. I'm sure we'll talk soon. Thank you.
All right, Josh. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Enjoyed
Bye-bye.
it.